Hello and welcome back to Print Island. Here we are on the Software Matrix today, and we are back talking about all things AI Pavilion and printing AI for Printing United 2026 in Las Vegas. Now, I have a very special guest, somebody who was part of the inaugural AI Pavilion at Printing United in Florida, not too far from where he is now, I'm assuming. Brad from DirectMail 2.0, welcome to Print Island.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be here. Happy to talk about any experience you want to talk about.
Well, in that case, let's find out a little bit more about what DirectMail 2.0 is, what it does for the print industry, and let's kick things off.
Great. I think the easiest way to describe it is we are the tech stack to enhance and improve direct mail. So we have a couple of brands, first being the DirectMail 2.0, which reports, enhances, and improves the engagement on direct mail through a bunch of technologies. There's 15 of them on the platform. Then we have Who's Mailing What, which is a competitive intelligence database that allows people to kind of see what their competitors are mailing and who to who and what they're mailing about. And then the most recent platform is DM20.ai, which is a propensity modeling database. So I've got tens of thousands of direct mail campaigns, and we've spent the last 18 months building our own algorithms and integrating with ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini to basically predict or help a person design and deliver the best possible mail campaign based on the past results of about 80,000 campaigns we have information on. So we like to say that we are the tech stack for improving direct mail.
Okay, that's quite an introduction, sir. I'm going to focus in on one of those elements there. I'm going to talk to you about DirectMail 2.ai. So I got it right?
Yep.
Now, you mentioned to me that you launched this in beta last year at the inaugural AI Pavilion, and officially it came out last month. Is that correct?
The end of March, we came out of beta, meaning the freebies were gone, and that beta period, we learned a lot. I have new respect for those large language models and trying to build something that nobody's ever built. Obviously, I'm bootstrapped. They have access to billions of dollars. I would say that I didn't even spend $1 million on what we put together. And considering the scale and I guess the unscale that I'm pretty impressed with what we built. I mean, AI is built on data, and we have a pretty good data set that gets better all the time.
I was just about to ask you actually, what's the data behind it?
I can go into that a little more. So it really comes from our other two platforms, DirectMail 2.0, which we have all the engagement data on almost 80,000 different direct mail campaigns, 2 billion pieces of mail going back 7 or 8 years. And then we have the company we acquired in 2024, which was Who's Mailing What, which has over, I believe it's 40,000 advertisers that have sent about 500,000 direct mail campaigns. So we're leveraging that massive payload of data and attribution and build models from them based on what people are currently mailing. I don't think there's anybody that's got the direct mail data that we have.
Okay, and that's quite a statement as well. We may have all seen yesterday that Microsoft stopped a large proportion of their team using AI tools due to the cost. What's the pricing model?
Great
for this.
So we have two models, as everyone else. We have a one-off model where you can just use it one time and never have to pay us again. And if somebody's got a campaign, they just want to check one thing, it's anywhere from $19 to $99, depending on the amount of AI you want to use. And let me expound on the $99, because that's really where the value is. We have our own proprietary model that uses our own database, and it's been hand modeled. Then once we have those results, we go out to not only ChatGPT and Gemini, but then we use a third. We use Claude to sort of look at all three of the recommendations and models, string them together, throw out the bad, improve the good. So we call it a 4-model analysis. All right. So obviously, if I'm using all of the top frontier models as well as my own model, I have to charge for it. And we even allow one better now that this is version 1.1 that rolled out last week. We allow a retest. So you get all these recommendations to improve your mail piece. And then let's say somebody acts on it, they want to re-upload it, or they want to change a couple of parameters because they've now decided to make some changes. We allow that done for free. So essentially you get 2 tests for $100, no commitment, never have to do it, pay us another dime. And then of course there's various subscription models that allow you to use it in mass, and based on your appetite, it goes anywhere from $79 a month all the way up to $390 a month on a subscription basis. And that obviously gives you, I don't want to say all you can eat, but probably more than you would need. It would be more for people that are commercial printers, or they're agencies that have multiple clients. They're not a landscaping company that does a spring cleanup and they don't need to run it more than once or twice a year. So we have plans for all budgets.
Okay. So you built something generally quite different by running your mathematical model through Gemini, ChatGPT,
Yes.
Anthropic, then triangulating the outputs. Why 3 engines rather than 1? And what does that give your customer that a single LLM tool cannot
That's
serve?
a great question. Okay, so this is what we determined in beta, and I'll be brutally honest. So we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars hiring, these math geeks that build algorithms. All right. And algorithms are just a series of mathematical computations based on certain benchmarks and where do things line up across an average or a median. And then based on what that is, you look at attributes that were different that may have lifted or dropped you below a certain benchmark. So it was very mathematical, it was very dry, and it was only related to that specific piece and that specific industry. So the results that it gave in the first beta pass were a bit generic. I'll be honest with you. Make a bigger headline, use brighter pictures. It was things that people were like, I don't need to pay for that, and how much would it be different than using ChatGPT? They were very generalized. So we needed the magic of both. We needed the massive computational power of those LLMs, and we needed our own proprietary data to get the right output. So we would do our calculations, run it through one, run it through another, then have the third compare and contrast and give the final report. I think it's the ultimate, because what are we doing? We're saving people the time of going to ChatGPT, and they may think, why do I need you at all? I'll upload my creative design into ChatGPT and it'll give me a response. Yes, it will. It's going to give you a generalized response based on best design practices, maybe even not for direct mail, just in general. It's not going to have data for specific industries, for specific time periods and specific geography. Okay. So you can do that. You are not going to get the specifics that a professional needs. What is it that nonprofits are doing at this time of the year that's successful? We drill down into the nitty-gritty of that. And not only that, we'll show them competitors that were in their category at the same time. This is where I'm leveraging my Who's Mailing What database. So we'll take their campaign, and now we'll draw off of our Who's Mailing What database and show them a couple of pieces that are competitive to them. So not only do they have our recommendations, they see what their competitors are doing real time. Let me ask you, you think ChatGPT or Claude has that data? Absolutely not. And they never will. So this is where we add a value that those companies will never have and never be able to bring. Obviously, we keep our stuff in a silo so they don't then get access to it. We'll show them the singular piece, but nothing beyond that. Nothing beyond that. Not the data behind it that gave us the algorithm for the output. So,
wow, that's really insightful. Yeah, really interesting. I didn't actually expect you to unpack it without much of a USP either. Before we move on to why we're here today, which is the AI Pavilion, I'm going to ask a few personal questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
You seem pretty up to speed on the industry and where we're going, but it's a very niche part of our industry. How comes this part of the industry, if I could start off with that first personal question?
I'll tell you why did I pick propensity modeling for AI? Very simple. I've been running and managing direct mail campaigns for 9 years, and I kept all the data. All right.
Okay.
And again, we're not sharing by individual, no PII. We're sharing by vertical and by zip code. So our customers that have used our platform to help monitor the engagement of their campaigns, we're not sharing who they are. We're not even sharing who the companies are. So I've accumulated this data. What I feel is probably one of the best attribution mail that's ever been built. And I knew that this was monetizable. It took the advent of AI a couple of years ago to be able to look at the creative, look at the data, correlate the two together, and find what happened with the creative or targeting that lifted the engagement on the other side. Now, to clarify, I do not have ROI data. I have engagement data. Who called? Who went to the website? Not who, but how many people, what kinds of people, what people clicked on links, those type of things. So we know if that creative is getting traction. So to me, it was a natural, and it really took getting the technology to a point where it was easy to build this. And with the advent of the LLMs and the explosion of AI tech, it was able to build this. And honestly, nobody's done it. And I've got the best database for it. So it's got to be me, It's got to be me.
Okay. Again, a very strong statement. We love that. So let's keep up with the personal theme here. Previous business of 23 years. I would call you a disruptor. Is that a fair statement? But I like to call you a positive disruptor.
So a little history. So my previous business, I was in distribution of packaged media. That people know that as CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays. All right. So probably nobody out there is still buying those products now. I was one of the first people to start selling those online via eBay and Amazon in the late 90s. I got the opportunity to meet Jeff Bezos a couple of times. We were originally one of the top sellers on Amazon in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was a great business. And we knew disruption was coming with streaming. This was not anything that was not foreseen, and we had tried many things. But I knew that I was going to get the smackdown, and I did. And in 2000, we peaked in 2012. And by 2017, I watched our company go from 25 million down to under $1 million. I wrote it to zero, essentially. Okay. And before I chose my next business, I wanted to get into something that was a disruptor, not disruptee. And direct mail, digital technology, and tracking technology sort of fit the bill. Now, there's been pressure on direct mail, and it's held its own. It hasn't crashed per se, and these people, direct mail's dead. Probably the only reason it's still alive is because of people like us that have taken this technology to the next level. I'm not saying just me. The inkjet printers, the variable data, the automation has allowed economies of scale to keep this industry relevant. And not only that, yes, it's very expensive to deliver content to targets, $1 or so a piece, but it is one of the most effective marketing technologies. So if we can come along with new technologies and make it more effective and better, then this industry survives because of that. And again, wow. It's the hardware guys, it's the marketing guys, it's the inks, it's the textures, it's everything,
There's a lot of people that watch this channel would absolutely agree with you on that.
Yes.
Sticking with the personal theme, so into the next stage of your life, you've done all this with 3 kids. Am I right in saying that? You've got 3 kids?
Yeah, I would say that my kids have grown. It was unfortunate when I was 50 years old and my previous 23-year-old company was going down the drain. I had 3 kids in college or about to be, and that was scary to start
Wow.
over at 50 years old. That was a lot of sleepless nights. You're burning cash. You have an investor who's getting nervous after a year, like, hey man, when are we going to stop the bleed here?
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough, but I knew that I really didn't have a choice. I had to get back on the hustle train and build something again. I had gotten comfortable and coasted, and then I wrote it down. And now I got to build a company from scratch at 50. And I'll tell you, building companies as a middle-aged or 50-year-old guy is not the same as it was when I did it when I was 24. Okay. The 60-hour weeks, no kids, it was a different experience, much easier than it was doing it at 50.
And do you think also that's a really valid point? And I think there's a bit of an entrepreneurial message in what you're saying here, but do you also think that, 20, 30 years ago when you were doing it, that the industry, the economy, the global economy has collapsed twice, isn't it? Or 3 times if you take in 2008.
I've now been through three, if you call COVID 4 recessions. And I'll tell you what I've learned, having been in business, trying to earn a living through 4 recessions, and I'm considering now entering one probably as well. You learn that the sky is not falling. There is an end to this, and it's more about perseverance. There's some hunkering down, but as my old Jewish grandmother would always say, and this too shall pass. Okay. After seeing it 3 times, it's just a matter of getting through it, and there are more prosperous times ahead. I mean, when I went to university, we talked about the 8 to 10 year business cycle. This was 40 some years ago. It is proven true. These things come and go every 8 to 10 years, and we'll get through this one. And then we got another one 8 to 10 years down the road. So get ready. I'll probably be retired, hopefully, for that one. It won't be my problem,
I think that's some really good advice there, Brad. And I think that applies to everybody in this industry right now. So I think we really appreciate that. I'm gonna switch it a little bit back to the pavilion now. You're one of the founding participants last year in Florida. As a business, what did it mean to you guys being there from the start? And was it worth the bet? Was it worth the investment? Like the gamble on that first pavilion?
Absolutely. I mean, we were launching an AI product that had never existed before in an industry that may be slower than most to adopt these type of things. Mm-hmm. And of course it was a gamble, but to me, it was one of these things. Well, I'm going to release a whole new brand, a whole new AI platform right at this time, and I'm not going to be in this pavilion. I mean, it's more of what I stand much more to lose than to gain. I know exactly what I would lose if it didn't work out. But if I didn't do it, who knows? The loss could go much deeper, Yeah. So anyways, it was a no-brainer, and I feel that way again. In the year or 6 or 10 months since, we have all of our platforms are AI first in terms of architecture. We have retooled everything in an AI sort of architecture, whether we bolted on new services to our existing legacy platforms or we've just retooled it from scratch. So I will not be disrupted again. So, this was a no-brainer, and obviously I'm going to be there again this year. And I made a post on LinkedIn the other day, and 20 years ago, as the internet was booming, and I wasn't in the printing industry, but I was in a different industry. And then there was internet pavilions at 25 years ago. This is going to become so prevalent that, I'm not trying to discount what Printing United has done. They're focusing on this, but in 5 years, everything will be AI, and there will be no AI pavilion. If you don't have AI, you are a dinosaur, and you will be disrupted and you will be replaced. All right. And here is the analogy. Imagine 25 years ago, you're entering the workforce and you have no experience or knowledge of any of the Microsoft Office tools. All right. how far are you going to get in the business world entering 25 years ago with no experience in email, Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, spreadsheets? This is the precipice we're at now. If you are not using AI tools on a daily in your life, you are the same dinosaur of the guy who never learned Office tools 25 years ago. So now there's a group of us that are retiring out where maybe it doesn't matter, they're 5 years, they'll be in their rocking chair or being a consultant. I don't know. But for the people coming up, if they are not on Claude or Chat or using one of these tools, and not just on them, and not just asking questions to make a better email, but building agentic applications to improve your daily workflow, you're at risk. Let's just put it that way. You're at risk in this market 3-4 years from now.
It's interesting. I was at an event last week in Europe, and I really felt as if the tide had changed, that there was generally people that would never touch software were now vibe coding their own products. And actually the requirement of where software will be purchased and used now fits in with an AI product of some sort. And if it doesn't, then it's going to go extinct like a dinosaur, right? Very, very interesting on that. It's very interesting to hear you say that very strongly, that, AI Pavilion's here now to help us get ready for the big change that's coming. When you were at the Pavilion last year, and I think one of the things that Print United are trying to do is, like you say, prepare the industry for what's coming next. What was the reaction from the print shop owners to what you were showing them? What were you surprised about the most from what you heard? Because let's remember, Brad, the sessions were all packed, weren't they? The Pavilion was
especially Adobe. There must have been 500 people crowded around. They all carried the same theme. This is here. It's not going away. The toothpaste is out of the tube. And to mention, this is the worst that AI will ever be today. Every day it improves and gets better. So in regards to the conversations I had and the things that I was showing people all week at the show, everyone was very impressed. And again, that was our worst scenario. But then everybody's very validative and very impressed, and they love the technology. But, there's still a friction point to being able to where they got to pay for it, yes, a lot of people have gotten on that $20 a month bandwagon for the pro version of Chat or Claude because it's easy. You get a better email. You write a better letter that it'll fix your spreadsheet, just telling it what to do. Okay. That was the start of it. Businesses are adopting it with some trepidation, especially in a hard economy. The thought of going and spending money to implement these things is scary because there is no guaranteed ROI. This is uncharted territory. And I understand if I'm a business and I've got to invest $10,000 or $20,000 into AI retooling, that's scary. Because right now, maybe my numbers are down and I don't have the 10 to 20 grand. So what do I do? And it is a tough call, but my thought would be to not do it is more dangerous than to risk doing it now.
Interesting.
Even if you don't have the money, honestly.
So I was actually going to ask you for some advice for what you'd say to printers, but actually that was pretty strong, really, is lean in and start talking to people like yourselves, I guess. But in your opinion, why should PSPs, print business owners, make the trip to the AI Pavilion again in 2026? And I guess when I say again, let's also say in general, why should they come? What's different this year compared to last year?
At the very least, if they're not ready to make an investment, they need to open themselves up to the operational experience of what these technologies can do and at least start thinking with them in the future. So I don't care if you don't have the budget for it and you're not going to implement some AI workflow and you're not going to change software and you're not going to buy something. At least expose yourself to the possibilities, because it will get you thinking to how this can help make your business more efficient. And I am by no means someone who's advocating that, do this and you'll be profitable or you'll operate with one half the staff. I'm not promising that, but you'll be able to see ways to kind of navigate what I believe are going to be tough times the next year or two. And when the time comes, at least you'll have gotten over the educational or operational understanding of what these tools can do. And you're not starting at square zero, because it's easier to keep up with it than kind of start fresh in a year or two knowing nothing, when everybody that's going to be talking to you is already going to be 2 or 3 years deep in this stuff and you're coming out of the weeds. So begin paying attention at the very least.
Okay, that's interesting. So your hot take, what's the biggest misconception in our space right now with AI? Quite a loaded question.
It goes back to those that feel that it's going to be the ruin of everything. Or it's the devil incarnate. I don't know if you follow the news, but our gracious Pope Leo wrote one of those reports saying that this is not good and everyone must keep their eyes open and be careful. And it's interesting that if you're a student of history, of which I am, and I didn't know about this till I started researching it, that in 1900, the previous Pope Leo XIV wrote a similar thing about the Industrial Revolution. We were just moving to automobiles from trains, and electricity was becoming more and more commonplace. So things were becoming automated, and this was talked about as well as becoming a scourge on society, that we were all going to be without a job, or we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves. Well, yes, we did go from a 60-hour work week down to a 40-hour work week. And with AI, we may go from a 40-hour work week down to a 30-hour work week. But standard of living improved, the average poverty level shrank, and this is something that should be embraced and can be used for the good of all. All right. You don't have to replace workers with it. You can expand and do other things with those workers, with the efficiencies created. People immediately go to, oh, everyone's going to be without a job. I'm not saying that won't happen. I mean, I don't think there'll be zero employment. There may be a cultural shift while we adopt this. And I'm looking 10, 12 years in the future when we have robots and nobody even drives a car anymore other than collectors. There will be a monumental shift in jobs, but there's no carriage drivers now either. There are not nearly as many horse tenders. You don't have people that shovel and deliver coal to your house anymore, but those people found jobs. So yeah. I think the same will happen.
Okay, another hot take from you, please. On the flip side, what's working right now in our space and direct mail?
Obviously, and everybody agrees on this, is you've got to combine direct mail with some of these other technologies. Whether it's printing and embellishment or sorting kind of efficiencies, or it's tracking and lift technology such as 𝐼𝐚. That will improve the results of direct mail, keep people buying it. And it's really a matter of getting the next generation to understand the value of this type of marketing. The digital only space is crowded. If you are not using some of these workflows or efficiencies, including AI in your plants, then that needs to be looked at too. Whether it's quality improvement or efficiencies in movement through automation, these things need to be embraced and looked at. Yes, there'll be consolidation, and who will do the consolidation? The guys that are using these technologies to make their shops more efficient and make their direct mail better.
Excellent, Brad. And I'm going to sort of close off a little bit on what's coming from you guys. You have a lot of exciting developments coming. You've mentioned quite a few of them today. Version 1.1, I'm hearing,
yes.
might have already been out by
That's
now.
out today.
Yeah. Oh, today. Wow. Good timing. Good timing.
Actually, it was yesterday. with competitive intelligence, retesting. We've added parameters, and we've got a new model training update with another 3 months of the most recent direct mail campaigns that only improves the models. We are releasing today a completely intuitive plain language search through who's mailing what. So you used to have to click boxes for filters. Now you just type on it like a ChatGPT. You say, show me all the mailings from universities in the Northeast in the last 30 days. You just type it in. It'll do that now. All right. Show me the trends of cell phone companies in the last 6 months. It'll do it. Before, it was a series of filters and outputs and make your own charts. Now we've AI firsted. And even our Direct Mail 2.0, all the dashboards now are AI enabled to benchmark how you're doing compared to everyone else in your category. What are your competitors doing? It's all there real time through AI. So like I say, everything is pretty up to date. And if you haven't looked at our platforms in a while, and in fact, in a week, you should take another look at them.
Wow.
We are anticipating a whole nother rollout before the pavilion in September, by the way.
Wow. Okay. And I guess people can see that. They come and see you at the pavilion this September, Las Vegas.
Yep.
Got to travel a bit this time, Brad. But listen, thank you so much for coming on to the Software Matrix here on Print Island. I would love to have you back on to hear about your platform again in the future and what you're doing for the industry. Thank you so much for sharing that insight, and keep up the good fight, and we'll see you in September.
Definitely, Chris. It was a pleasure. Anytime.